Thank you, Mr. Andrews, for joining us.
Very good to be with you.
At a festive event earlier, you had promised to bring to life a cultural precinct for Indians in Victoria. Now, what is the timeline on that particular project, and what happens to the existing Little India precinct in Dandenong?
Well, the first thing is to say that we're so proud to have Melbourne and Victoria as the capital of the Indian diaspora. There are more members of the Indian Australian community in Melbourne and Victoria than any other part of our nation. So it makes sense, in fact it's long overdue for us to have an Indian cultural precinct to host events, to tell the story of Indian migration to our city and to our state, but also to reflect upon the great contribution that the Indian community makes in politics, in research, in the medicine, academia, business, trade, and in our multiculturalism. Sharing Indian culture and heritage, celebrating Indian culture and heritage, a space that belongs uniquely to the Indian community is very important. Now, a lot of work will need to go into this, and it won't necessarily happen in weeks and months. It will take some time, because we have to get this right. We already have a Little India precinct out in Dandenong. There have been some significant challenges in terms of some of the changes to the environment, and we've worked, that is Labor has worked very closely with traders out there. We want to continue to do that. We also want to make sure that we get the best possible space where the largest number of Melburnians and Victorians can come and share in the celebration of Indian culture, whether it be at Diwali or lots of other Holi or other festivals and events, national days, things of that nature. The key point here is to actually listen, not to tell the Indian community what they want, but to listen to the Indian community and understand what the Indian community needs.
And therefore that would have community consultation
Absolutely.
Going forward to have this happen.
It'll be a significant committee. I'm sure that Multicultural Affairs Minister Robin Scott won't allow it to be 50 or 100 members big, but there'll need to be significant and meaningful community consultation where the government, the Labor government, actually listens to the Indian community. I'm not interested in telling Indian Victorians and Indian Australians what they want. I want to listen and understand what they need.
Well, speaking of community consultation, you said that you would like to bring about an Indian Film Festival, Melbourne, free of controversy. How do you plan on achieving that?
Well, that may be more easily said than done. I think what's important, and I've heard this message very clearly from many different leaders in the Indian community, is that those who organise the festival at the moment, I think they've got a job to do, they've got some work to do, because there are many people in the Indian community who don't feel that they have a say, that they have a voice in this important film festival. It's a big cultural event, it's a big economic event, it's something we want to see done well. Now, again, I don't want to be drawn into the internal politics of these things, but what I would say is that surely we have to strive for a better outcome. We don't want people feeling that they've been excluded, feeling that they haven't been listened to. We want people to have confidence in the process and to be part of an event that's really special and really an event without peer. So again, I'm confident that the organisers of the festival will hear that message and will better engage with a broader range of stakeholders, a broader range of interested members of the Indian community. That's how we'll get the best possible outcome.
All right, well, stepping away from that for just a moment, now on the backdrop of such a tragic and frightening event that's just taken place, the Sydney siege, how do you plan on safeguarding anything against prejudice that might come about, to protect the Islamic faith and, most importantly, the people that believe in it in Victoria?
Well, these were terrible acts by one person. This is not about what the clothes that you wear, where you pray, or how you pray. It's not about faith. It's a betrayal of faith. There's no religious observance. There's no truth in acting the way this person did. It's the exact opposite of that. and we need to call it out as such. And I've been really, very deeply saddened by the events in Sydney, but I've been proud to stand up and make the point that this is not the Victorian way, it's not the Australian way. And there are some in our community who, for their own reasons, seem to conclude that the acts of one person who is no servant of Islam, is no servant of faith, are a commentary on everyone of the Islamic faith. That's wrong, and it puts at risk the harmony and the respect that we've built here in Victoria and that we are famous for, and that we should always richly cherish. I am concerned that there are many, particularly women from the Muslim faith, who feel less secure than they did some time ago, and we have to do more. And I know the Victoria Police are very concerned about this issue, and they've been working with the Islamic Council of Victoria and with other groups to try and reassure members of Melbourne and Victoria's Islamic groups, as many as there are, that they will be protected and that they can feel safe. But I don't think we should ever settle for a set of circumstances where members of any faith group, whether it be the Islamic community, Jewish community, Hindi community, whoever it is, we should never settle for any group within our community feeling unsafe simply because they are being who they are.
Well, I'll ride with you with hashtag.
Indeed.
Is a beautiful way of the general public coming out in support of people who could or could not be facing prejudice as a repercussion of what's happened. Well, moving forward, Mr. Ted Bailleau has been a really passionate and a person who's very vocal about his campaign against dowry. If you could throw light on that aspect and really what your take is on the issue at the moment.
Well, look, I want everyone to be treated equally. I want a situation where women, in whatever context, are not seen as goods and chattels, as it were. I want to see women in our community respected. I want to see every Victorian respected based on their potential, based on their abilities, based on an equality of opportunity. That's my vision for our state. And I dare say that Ted Bailleau and I probably don't have a great deal of difference in our view on the need to treat people equally and fairly. On the issue of dowry, though, I think I probably do the very specific issue. This is as much a matter of international law as it would be of anything we could do here. These arrangements are almost always made overseas. There could be some made here, though. I think I need to probably listen to the community a bit more on this. I need to understand the issue. I know that if you go back to former Premier Bailleau, some of the comments and some of the, if you like, the campaign that he ran around this issue, that's a few years ago now.
Yeah.
It's perhaps a good one of many different issues where I need to listen and hear from the community about their concerns. And no doubt this won't be the only issue. There'll be many other issues that people want to talk to me about. It's always been my way to sit and to listen and to allow people to tell their story and to talk about the things that are of concern to them.
Well, it'll certainly be something that we look forward to for the general public. It's not just about the Indian community.
No.
Because it certainly exists in India and it's a given, but in Australia it's a completely different scenario. So
It is, and I don't want to be in any way insensitive, but the family violence issue, respect, treatment of women equally, safety of women, protection, this is a very significant issue and one that we are going to take very clear action on. The first Royal Commission into family violence in Australia's history will be conducted in our state. Work has already begun on that. Again, we've had a debate from whether it be misogyny and sexism led by Julia Gillard. We've had other community debates in individual multicultural communities about the way people are treated. roles, the stereotypes, the way people are empowered, right through to acts of violence across our whole community. And many of our multicultural communities have taken a leading role in that.
Speaking of acts of violence, touching on another very tragic and recent event, a young couple perished in a case of murder-suicide recently in Deer Park, and a reporter from the Indian Sun actually contacted the police like we would normally, and unfortunately they were not very forthcoming with any basic information, especially about that child. And so, many people from the community, in fact, want to reach out and really help that little toddler or the family of the deceased in general, if they need any help at all. And so the Indian Sun generally feels that, we're sort of kept in the dark most of the time. The ethnic media is kept in the dark. So how can you really help with that matter?
Well, sometimes with these cases, as investigations unfold, they can be a good deal more complex than they might seem. And police have got a very difficult job to do with providing information, providing reassurance, fulfilling that part of their role, but also being careful not to compromise any investigation they might be doing.
Of course.
That's a very difficult balancing act, and I think most Victorians know that and they can understand that. If there's an issue around Victoria Police and other emergency services and their engagement with our multicultural media, I'm more than happy to follow that up.
That would be fantastic.
I'm more than happy to raise that with the Chief Commissioner and to raise it with others, because issues of community information, making sure the community is well informed, not just in criminal issues, but also issues of public safety, issues. We're already in what's going to be a long, hot, dry and dangerous summer in terms of fire. We need to make sure that all of that community messaging around what to do, how to keep yourself safe, how to minimise your risk, as well as assisting communities to come together and help victims of crime, for instance. We need to make sure those messages get out there, and multicultural media is a very important part of that.